Australians, oh, let's make a choice, for we're no longer free. Our government has let us down and failed our own country. The great Australian dream is for the lucky few, but Aussies know what it really means to be true blue. Lest we forget what's a fair go and make Australia fair. Shout, we just want to live and grow. Advance Australia fair.
Oh, that's a bit interesting. Here we go. I don't know if you can hear me yet, folks. I'm just going to keep talking until at some stage I can figure out if I've been added. The computer has just locked up. Most intriguing. We'll give it a second and see whether or not things change. G'day to Albatross, who's watching through Cairns News and is in the chat with his thumbs up. G'day, mate. If you want to go across and join either the Rumble chats, but Voice of Freedom is always a good one to catch up on. Ha! There we go. Bloody hell, folks. What an interesting evening that has been. Got the intro out and then the whole system just froze. I've had to do a complete reboot. So Are you still there? I guess is the next question. Let me know. Good, we're back. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, there you go. So just got to the end of the intro and went to turn my camera on, and the whole thing just froze and was doing nothing, which is a bit disturbing. So I'm just trying to open up a couple of the other chat windows while I speak to you now. And a little bit of luck, we will get the chat. There you go. Thanks, Albatross. He's watching in the Cairns News chat. So thanks to you, mate. You're doing a great job keeping me up to date there. And hello to everybody in the chat rooms that I can see here. Michelle, you were in first tonight, followed by Sunflower. I've got to say, you're all a bit late tonight, 6:25. I think it was a dead eat last night for the two folks that were in there last night. Toxic, g'day, mate. J1, good to have you around. I started a comment of yours I saw blow past there earlier. Oh, there you go. You're so tough. Your girl irons your shirt while you're still wearing it. Whoo, geez, that's going to be an interesting chat provoker in the chat tonight. And Tony, yeah, I think you might be right there. Although, just on the head copper quitting from Queensland, there is a lot more information still to come out about how disenfranchised Queensland police officers are from their jobs and certainly from their senior bosses. The acting commissioner, the fellow that's been put in place of the buffoon that was there before him, has as little respect from the rank and file police membership as his predecessor. In fact, this assistant commissioner, as he was at the time, and now the acting commissioner, was responsible in great part for the rollout and the enforcement of so much of the things that we came to love and hate, more particularly from the Queensland Police Service over the last few years. The senior membership in the Queensland Police Service, I don't mean the blokes who ride around and hand out the tickets. I mean the blokes who sit with shiny bums on leather chairs in high-rise buildings in the city. They didn't have to get jabbed. They were given an exemption. The very senior police ranks, all those assistant commissioners. So getting rid of the woman at the top who was perceived to be the problem isn't fixing the problem. It's just replacing the head of the problem. But I think we all know the Queensland Police Service, along with just about every other police service in the country, well, I beg your pardon, they're not services, they are forces. Queensland Police Force, Victorian Police Force. They provide very little service, although that does seem to be changing. It certainly seems to be changing, but that senior membership in the police force in Queensland all has to go. It all has to go. And the problem they have is the senior level of management underneath them all quit when their bosses above them said, you've got to do this, but we're not going to do it. So if they get rid of all the senior police who, let's face it, I think we can pretty much predict that if they're not corrupt, they know someone very close to them who is. What are we going to replace them with? Junior coppers? Some of the blow-in imports from overseas that are able to come here now. You don't have to be an Australian citizen. You can come. Oh. Screen's going dark at weird times and places. Well, we'll see how long this lasts tonight. So having a bit of a scan down. G'day, Bruce. How are you and the lovely Peter going? When's the wedding? It's got to be around, I think you said the end of February, didn't you? Or am I jumping ahead of the gun? Might be in March. I may well be heading to Victoria in March. I'll let you know about that a little later, when it gets closer, if it actually materializes. Veronique, how are you, darling? Lovely to have you back in the chat again tonight. Tony, I mentioned your comment first up in the show. The gorgeous Sunflower, And as she says, folks, please like and subscribe and make a few comments. We're always happy for you to comment on the show live. And if you want to comment on the show afterwards, I do get notified of your comments. Don't think they don't get seen. I just can't reply to everything. There isn't enough time in the day. So unfortunately, but I do try as best I can. Usually on the weekends, I do a lot of reading to try and catch up. Hey, Pegs, how are you, Dale? Agate Master's back in the house tonight. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. So come out. Good question. Will there be jail time served by these individuals? Maybe, maybe not. I would suspect that the government is going to appeal. Well, what are we talking about? So to begin with, if you've been living outside of Queensland today, you may not have heard that early this morning, the Supreme Court in Queensland found on behalf of dozens of police and health workers, I'm not exactly sure if that dozens is correct, it might be hundreds, it could be thousands, their mammoth legal battle over the spicy cough vaccination orders. Now, the Supreme Court has declared, in a 115-page decision handed down today, that Katrina Carroll, the former police commissioner's direction for the mandatory COVID-19 vaccination issued December 21, was one unlawful under the Human Rights Act and banned her from taking any steps to enforce the direction. Now, we know they're not enforcing the direction anymore and haven't been for some time. That order there simply says and acknowledges the fact formally that they have been conducting themselves unlawfully under the Human Rights Act. Now, yes, if you were to go and challenge her, the senior management of the Queensland Police Force, then yes. Would there be jail time? Don't know. You would have to. I think you would have to go them civilly, unless there is something that is compelling, and we actually have faith in our justice system to see them, not let off, or let off with a slap on the wrist. The judge also ruled that a similar order by John Wakefield, the Director General of Queensland Health's equivalent vaccination policy, is of no effect, and Mr. Wakefield to be blocked from forcing paramedics to have the injection. Now, there were a lot of nurses that were involved in this action too, I believe, but predominantly kicked off with 74 people opposing vaccinations. And they took the state government to the Supreme Court to challenge the directives. They were included in 3 separate applications before the court, 2 related to police officers or civilian staff, and the third case related to ambulance service workers. The workers did not have to be vaccinated while their legal fight was underway. I wonder whether or not they got much work out of it, though. Gerard Rennick was first to blow the horn. He was very, very excited about it. Vaccine mandates have been ruled unlawful. It's been a long time coming, but today a little bit of justice has finally been served. Congratulations to the brave police officers and paramedics who stood up to the tyranny of the state government and their minions who violated people's human rights. These are the police we want on our streets, the ones that have been kicked off it, the ones that have been not allowed to do their job. And Rennick, I think it said there, has been pretty staunch in his opposition of all of that. Roberts came out too with a little video as soon as the news came out this morning.
Great news, breaking news. The Queensland Supreme Court has just ruled that the vaccine mandates, the so-called injection mandates that held back the police or forced them to get injected, the police and the paramedics, are not legal and have no further effect. So more news is to come.
So states could be in a bit of trouble, but the federal government won't be.
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. We do not have that. We are not proposing to have that. That is not changing. If you've chosen not to get vaccinated, that's your choice. That's fair enough.
Fair enough. That's what the federal government's stance was at the time. Now, we all know that he was speaking from this side of his mouth while shit poured from the other side of his mouth as well. Because while he was saying, oh, no, we're not forcing anybody to get anything, he was coercing business into making sure that they coerced their workers into getting the jab. They were offering incentives. As we know, we've spoken long and hard about the 1 year tax-free incentive that all mainstream media businesses, particularly the big ones, were given for the duration of the farce. Tax-free. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in the hands of those people responsible for the programming coming off that box you sit and watch on your wall. Did they share that with you? No. Did they share that with their staff? No. No, the big ones, it will have gone to the shareholders. And it's a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And they kept it quiet. The media and the government. And that's just the media one. They've bribed every facet of business and left them hanging out in the breeze to dry when this time arrives. Because right now, those businesses do not have a leg to stand on. If the Queensland government has been found guilty of breaching Section 58, I think it is, of the Human Rights Act, where do you think your coffee shop, your butcher, your baker, your candlestick maker will be? And particularly if the owners of those businesses got rid of staff with venom. Oh, you're too stupid to work here because you won't go and get vaccinated. Yes, I've heard that has happened to a staff member at a business in Noosa. You're too stupid to work here, you won't get vaccinated, you're sacked. So I would suspect that business owner in particular might be spending a bit of time with legal fees in the not too distant future, as will any business that forced this on their staff. And if one of those staff, or all of them, have got sick since this was forced on them so they could come to work, then you, the business owner, are going to be liable. The government are not going to protect you. Why?
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. We do.
That's why. They made it very clear. They were on all the mainstream media at the time, and they used that terminology purposefully to be absolutely clear.
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. We do not.
But if your business forced people to get vaccinated, then that's your problem. Government doesn't have a policy on that. You did that. So good luck. Hung out to dry. It does mean many interesting things going ahead. This is one case for one particular segment of the population, one particular segment of the employment market. These are first responders. There is a very large action group in Queensland who I'm tried to get a hold of today, but I'm having trouble getting contact details for. But there is a large group, a nursing group in Queensland, who spoke down at the Farmers Rally in Canberra about the inequities and the out-and-out lies, particularly the Queensland government, the health system had been telling them. While there are 3,000 or more qualified health professionals that have been made unemployed because of this illegal action taken by the government in enforcing this mandate through the health system, they have managed to put our health system into deeper crisis because there aren't enough nurses. There are barely enough doctors, I would say, but there are certainly not enough nurses. And we all know the doctors don't do the nursing. In fact, there's a big school of theory that says the nurses do the doctoring. The doctor's just there to sign the paper and nod his head. The nurses are the ones that keep you alive. The nurses are the ones watching you 24/7. The doctors turn up in the morning and look at you, nod their head a bit, ask you a couple of questions, and then go off to do other important things like see if they can break their handicap. I'm being a bit facetious there, but you know what I'm getting at. So, business. If you own a business, even though you were coerced into doing what you did, and I'm sure that there will be businesses who felt terrible about what they felt they were forced to do by the government, and there is no recompense. There is no way back. The buck stops with you, unfortunately. And if you're only a new viewer to the Voice of Freedom, well, I'm sorry. Maybe you should have gone back and started watching from the start. But I told you from the start that this would happen this way. It had to. So what does that mean for you and your business, particularly if you put a lot of staff off or you made life hard? Well, if you put those staff off, and let's call it with malice or with venom, I would expect your business is going to be closing down real soon, because this is the leg up they required to get a legal case going. And by the sounds of it, the courts are of a mind to hear their arguments. Previously, the courts seemed to be run by somebody else, because they wouldn't hear these sorts of arguments. You'd be thrown out on your ear as a conspiracy theorist. But now, not so much. What's changed? And could it have changed on a national scale? Maybe so. But that still won't make the federal government liable for what's happened to you, your job, your health, your life, your family. They will not ever become liable.
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country.
And that is why. They told you. You have to take responsibility. And if you've got people that I know if you're watching this, you probably haven't had the jab. None of this really concerns you. But you're going to be speaking with people who have had the jab, people who run businesses and now are going to be in fear for their own business and the decisions that they made. Well, that's the thing about this great battle God has us fighting for him for. God gives us choice. God gave us the ability to reason, to think, to make decisions, to weigh up the options, to make informed decisions, or just to make rash ones, or somewhere in between. How do you make a decision? Well, first of all, you have to know that a decision needs to be made and why. Now, if you're the kind of person that says the decision needed to be made because the government told me so, well, okay, that's the decision you made. But there are a lot of businesses, a lot of people, most of you, I suspect, who are watching this show right now, made a different decision. And that decision was to push back, to resist, to not comply. Now, in theory, none of us have got too much to worry about going forward, because we're not going to have too many health worries outside the ones we might bring upon ourselves, but certainly not ones that are born of, diffused immune system. We haven't got a fragment of AIDS running around in our bloodstream. And God knows what else. Little aerial being built inside us. Well, we're lucky. That's not us. But we only think that's the case, because they've been putting that shit into us in just about everything. Food, water, raining on us, absorbing it through the skin. Every one of us could be a transmitter. But I'm thinking that the needles had some booster or activator in it that really set it all off. So with a bit of luck, people like you and I, who are pure of blood, so to speak, are going to be able to stay that way. Speaking of pure of blood, there's been a warning in America.
Hey, medical field workers and nurses of TikTok, 2 questions for you. What do these 2 serpents symbolize on this medical field symbol right here? And what is your take on this right here?
Situations where you may be in a car accident or something, you need blood right away. there is a possibility that you'll be getting vaccinated blood.
And is there any way for like my patients to know if they were getting, vaccinated blood or?
There isn't any way. The blood isn't separated, depending on if you're vaccinated or not. It's not separated. The only way that they can get it, blood that's not vaccinated, is if they donate for themselves or if they have a family member that's willing to donate for them.
Do you guys track that?
Track vaccinated versus unvaxxed?
Yeah. Ending up to the patient?
No. So some people have, had the vaccine 2 years ago and are still experiencing some type of symptoms. So that's why we specifically ask regarding that one. Like, for instance, I've had one donor before call in, and after she received the vaccine, her doctor was able to find that she had a direct correlation to ringing in the ears afterwards. And so we see that as a symptom. So anything abnormal, and it still proceeds to this day. So she essentially wasn't eligible to donate. So that's why we have to ask. Just because of any type of symptom, it's not necessarily limited to just fever or nausea or anything of that sort.
Bit of a concern. I don't know how many of you donate blood. I haven't donated blood in many years. Oh, God, I'd have to go back many, many, many years. But I think I'm going to start donating a bit of blood and trying to get it saved for myself. And there are people in this community who can help with things like that, because it's not just a matter of, I'm just going to take a litre of blood out and store it in the fridge. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. But I'm going to try and find a medical type who is prepared to talk to us about that kind of thing, and whether or not we should be stockpiling our own blood. What's the use-by date on your own blood when you've taken it out of your body and you've shoved it into the fridge? I want to say a month, but it might be a week, could be a day for all I know. Can't help but think it wouldn't be a bad thing to do a little bit of stockpiling of it, and maybe we need to have a form of blood bank. Maybe that can be a project for my place, the My Place Pure Blood Bank. That's going to really come back and bite me on the ass, the pure blood thing. But anyway, it can be a bit of fun. Let me just scroll down here and have a bit of a look and see if there is anything popping up in the chat that I can address. No sound, no visual. Veronique, I'm back, or I hope I'm back. Just having a bit of a scroll, see if there's any questions I can see quickly. And yes, you can see that I'm still struggling with my glasses. These are the readers, and they get better if I zoom in and out rather than up and down. That's the weird thing with them. I got some mail today. I got two lots of mail today. I got some mail from Tasmania and a lot of reading in that mail from Tasmania. In fact, I have that sitting right here beside me, and a lot of reading. So thank you very much, Dave. I've read your letter. Thank you for that. And how nice it is to receive a handwritten letter. I would love to reciprocate, but you will never read my handwriting. I can't read my handwriting. It's atrocious. So I will endeavour to write back to you, but it will be more of a typed one, because I'd like you to understand what it was like. But how nice to receive a handwritten letter. Now, David's also sent me a rather detailed letter that he sent to the Tasmanian Police Commissioner. I haven't been through that yet. I haven't had time to read that today, but I will over the next 24 hours or so, and look forward to sending you a reply back, Dave, as soon as I can get that one sorted. My other bit of mail today came from some folks in New South Wales who wish to remain anonymous. Thank you so much. I loved your note, and thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. It'll go a bit of a way to helping us get a tank of fuel and keeping us on the road. So thank you very much for that. I also think I'm getting another parcel from Tasmania at some stage this week. I hope it's this week. at any rate. Folks, you will have heard me talk about black sheep in Tasmania numerous times. I tell you what a magnificent man that he is. Haven't really told you about him so much as a few of his hobbies. If you go back and have a look at my Tasmanian trip, Paul was my host. He took me around Tassie, looked after me like I was family. Both he and his dad had me at their house. And I don't think I could have got a nicer bloke to take me around Tassie and show me the sights. Very knowledgeable, but very knowledgeable on so many other extremely interesting things, including, funnily enough, and you would never guess it by looking at him, Bibles. Boy, does Black Sheep know Bibles. He collects a lot of this sort of stuff and doesn't just collect it, sit it in a box and leave it. He reads it. And when he reads it, he remembers it for the most part and is able to compare the readings out of this book to the readings of this book. And while his Hebrew is not, I suppose, quite up to grade, he's of the mind of doing the translations, or he finds the books where they have had professional translations done to them with the texts opposed so that you can match them. He is a very, very, very cluey bloke when it comes to Bibles. And as it turns out, happened to have a spare King James V Bible. So he's sending it to me. God love you, Paul. Just God love you. You are such a generous soul. He saw my talk about the Bible and my hunt for a King James V Bible particularly recently, and just rang me up, sent me a couple of pictures, and I thought, oh, there he goes. He's showing me his collection again. And then he sends me I think he rang and said, oh, I've just sent a box to you. It's got that in it. So God love you, Paul. Thank you so much. And when it gets here, I can't wait to get into it and have a good look. So, yeah, fabulous stuff. That's Black Sheep down in Tassie. Here's Dave. What's going on? Police are defunded badly all over the place. You lost the PCYC funding for community kids program. The old school copper who was working for them has been transferred out of the area. Yeah, right. So PCYCs. Well, I grew up in Victoria, and I don't even think they have them today. They might, but they certainly didn't when I grew up there. But when I came to Queensland for the first time, the Gladstone PCYC was the first time I became aware of them, and just what a great thing they were for kids in regional towns. They had a great centre. They had access to all sorts of great equipment, from sports centre sort of stuff all the way through to some pretty specialised sort of stuff. They used to do training. They would teach kids how to swim if they didn't know how to swim. They would teach them how to play sport. They'd teach them how to, experiment with their own creativity. Really, really wonderful. And of course, particularly in Queensland, they were known for their boxing gyms. Very fit young men who wanted to have a bit of a blue. The coppers knew how to sort that out. There's the ring. Here's some gloves. Get in there and let's sort it out the right way. And if you were still walking around at the end of it and you didn't mind the fight, then maybe you were a fighter and you could get some training. And there were plenty of good Queensland state title winners came clean out of PCYCs, and I guess in other states too. So it's sad that we've seen the erosion of what was once a highly respected police initiative and community initiative over the last few years just be pissed up against a wall by a bunch of pink-haired, purple-haired loonies who are more worried about people's feelings than actually enforcing laws and protecting the public. And I don't think we need too much more evidence than that, than to look at the youth crime figures, probably not just in Queensland. I know they're through the roof in the Northern Territory as well, and South Australia, and Victoria, and New South Wales. Have you been having a look at who's mostly committing a lot of those crimes at the moment? Well, you might want to turn the brightness up your TV if you haven't seen them yet. That's probably the only way you haven't seen them. Your brightness isn't turned up bright enough. What else did I have here that I wanted to talk to you about? Now, climate crying. Climate crying is an atrocious thing. We have been subjected to it now in earnest for the last 10 years. The lies they have told us, the fabrications they have made, and the geoengineering they have done to support their lies is now starting to come back to roost. But until such time as we have the real proof, the full proof and nothing but the proof in undeniable form, we're going to have to go back to historical records like this one. The 1908 heat wave was recorded by a farmer who was living in the district over a century ago. Now, have a look at what January 1908 looked like. 45.5, 42.2, 42.7, 42.2. Then the cool change on the 9th of January. They had 9th, 10th, 11th cool days. Then back to 34 on the 12th, 40 on the 13th, 41.5, 46.1, 46.5, 47.7 on the 17th of January, 48.3 on the 18th, of January. I got to say, if that is evidence of a heat wave, and we are currently going through climate change, I'd count us pretty lucky, wouldn't you? We're closer to a friggin' ice age than we are to a meltdown with temperatures like that. That is staggeringly hot. All right, I'm not exactly sure where that was. Might have been in the center of Australia, but it doesn't matter. I bring it up only because evidence is now starting to present itself, and I hope to gather a little bit more of it, and there is some video evidence that I can present to you about how the Bureau of Meteorology have relocated their measuring equipment. In many cases, it's been relocated from a backyard or from somewhere that was relatively close to an urban environment to a rocky outcrop beside a runway in the middle of nowhere. This has engineered new temperature figures. Okay, it's not much good if the previous temperature figures were recorded in the shade, I guess. And trees grow over time. So maybe there was the opportunity for a bit of shade now and again to touch the odd box. But all of them? I don't think so. And they're now putting them in places where they are likely to attract more heat, or in areas that are likely to be hotter by geography or other reason. And this is how they're, the other significant part of what they're doing is they've disavowed figures before, I think it's 1900. So any temperature figures that were recorded through the 1800s don't count anymore. Why? Well, because that'd bring the averages down, not allow them to go up like they are at the moment. It's all a lie they're telling you, folks. All a lie they're telling you. Now, we've spoken about Scott Morrison and the fact that his government, and just to be clear, we'll make it sure.
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country. We do not have.
They do not. They do not. They do not. And as of right now, we do not have a Scott Morrison. He fought back tears, quoted the Bible, and included Taylor Swift in lyrics in his eventful valedictory speech to Parliament today. The former Prime Minister and member for Cook said his farewells and was given a standing ovation after 16 years in office, nearly 4 of them as the PM. He joked that there were too many people to thank for their support during his time in office, but he wouldn't want to injure their reputation by doing so. Now, that would have been very funny, I'm sure, in the House. But it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. You've got to remember what criminals they're working with, all right? And he knows they're criminals. In reply, Albo Sleazy described Morrison as a formidable opponent and commended him for his good intentions and strong response to the spicy cough pandemic. Yes, you'll remember that strong response, won't you?
We do not have a mandatory vaccination policy in this country.
That's the strong response that's going to hang out Australian businesses until they are wrung dry and closed. Sued blind by the people that they put off, thinking the government was going to protect them, and they didn't question it. They didn't consider it. They made a choice without doing the research. And there's another interesting word, research. Why is everything we're doing called research? Well, we are researching for it because it has already been found. The search has been made. The results of that search have been hidden from us. Now we are researching and gaining more and more information every day. And aren't we gaining more and more information every day? I think I said back in early January, mid-January, that February and March were going to be supposedly big months for eye-opening moments. Well, I think we can say we've had a few eye-opening moments in the month of February. I think there is more to come over the next couple of weeks into March, a lot more. There is also now talk coming out about Michelle Obama's run for the presidency, and that she won't come out and announce until May, and they're doing that for a reason, so that it doesn't look like a complete loss for Biden and a complete abject failure and him running off the field of play. Because as soon as they make that announcement, he's a lame duck, a more lame duck president. So you can expect that Michelle Obama will stick his hat in the ring. Barack has already been out working real hard, raising a few funds from his former donors or friends or Satanists. I'm not sure which way we describe them. Michelle Obama likely to throw her hat in the ring and be the Democrat nominee for the presidential election. Boy, that would be interesting. Would be very, very interesting. Also interesting, Tay Tay has been to Australia. I think I got past just about all last week without mentioning her much. But there was a couple of interesting little things that I saw today that got me. Tay Tay in Australia. Oh, God, isn't that wonderful? 600,000 people, I reckon she's seen across 7 concerts. That's a pretty good little effort. How many people noticed the sign there in the background? The one there that says report antisocial behaviour. So along with 600,000+ Australians, Big Brother in true 1984 style is watching. What isn't in that photo but is available in a wider shot is the full phone number you're asked to ring to report somebody being antisocial. Now, do you think they're ringing the antisocial nurse to come out and say, oh, hang on, darling, don't be like that? No, they'll be ringing somebody else who'll come out and modify your antisocial behavior to a point using threats. And if that doesn't work, intimidation. And if that doesn't work, violence against you. That's how that works. And now people are seeing it in stadiums, big events all around the country. Americans are horrified, absolutely horrified, because they too remember George Orwell's 1984. And they see this huge advertising up around the MCG or the Sydney cricket ground, whatever they were at, Sydney footy ground. Basically saying, report what you see. If you see someone behaving in a way you don't like, report them. If they're being antisocial, had a few beers, staggering home, being a bit loud, report them. And they're going to point to this, say, I've been doing it for years. Well, they probably have. But if they haven't, if it's something they just started, it has to be stopped. This cannot be allowed. Yes, I understand all the reasoning why it might be okay to report dickheads doing dickhead things. God knows, we've all seen them on the roads and like to think we'll pick up the phone and ring them. Sometimes we do, depending on the level of dickheadedness being displayed in front of us. But more often than not, we don't pick up the phone because we know ringing 000 is only going to result in this, lengthy phone conversation where nothing is going to happen. And as none of us have worked up the balls yet to run the dickhead drivers off the road, we figure out other ways just to put up with it and live with our own frustrations. Because it's not right to go running other drivers off the road. We're aware of that, aren't we? Just wanted to be clear. So, yeah, Big Brother is watching. And he's watching at all the big events, covering all the age demographics, all the celebrities, all the kids. The only one they're not seeing, they weren't watching, was us. Because if you're anything like me, you weren't watching anything to do with Taylor Swift. Tay Tay. God, makes me very, very, very unhappy. There was one more thing I was going to finish off with, but when I've had the computer crash, all the websites went down. Bugger me. All the websites went down, and I haven't brought them back up. One of the things that didn't go down because it wasn't available to me was Darren Bergwerf when I started the show, but seems he's remembered he was going to pop in for a chat. Here he is. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Sorry about that. I was actually down doing a bit of a speech before Cass started her show at 7:30. So, and then I thought there's something I've got to do tonight. I was just about to do a live because we had an awesome day on the polls today, and I'm sitting there. I had my dinner, and then I seen the text message. Oh shit, I forgot all about it. Better late than never.
It's all right. Yeah, better late than never. So last night I gave you a big wind up. You were going to be on Paul Murray's show, or at least I did. I probably misinterpreted what you told me. But the fact is, not only were you not on Paul Murray Live, but you weren't even allowed in the bloody building.
Well, I got into the building and, I tried to get a spot there. Spoke to Paul Murray, spoke to the producer. I had a discussion with her in the middle of the audience, saying that, I'm here, I'm an independent candidate. Why can't I have a spot? Labor aren't here. There's obviously a spare seat. Why not? I thought, Sky News or Sky Channel would have been more than welcome of an independent. I could understand this attitude with, Channel 2, 7, 9 or 10, but I thought you guys would be different. And she said, no, you weren't invited. You're not welcome. And this is in front of the crowd. And so I said, okay, that's fine. I went off and then I came back and there's a spare seat at the front. So I just wandered back into the set and sat on the seat at the front. I was there for 5 or 10 minutes. One of the other producers came up and said, listen, guys, you haven't got wristbands on. And he knew who I was. And I said, mate, I'm not here to cause trouble. I'm happy to just sit here, watch the show, stare down the guests. I didn't say that right in front of Nathan. But it was a bit later that the producer demanded that I get off the set. So I said, okay, that's okay. I'll go out the pub. And I had 4 or 5 friends in there. And another guy that's got about 300,000 followers was there, has been staying at that pub for like 30 odd times, takes all his clients there. He was talking to my friendship group, Steve and Narelle and Emma and Anna. And then so I went there and then Mel, the manager of Cheeky Squires, said, no, you can't stay in the pub at all. I said, what are you talking about? I said, I'm off the set. He said, no, I want you out. Get out. And so I explained to her, I said, I have every right to be. I'm a federal candidate in an election. You're actually interfering with an election process. I said, this is going to come back and bite you. And she said, I don't care, get out. So I left, no argument. Got out to the door. She slammed the doors. She pushed all the panic bolts up and down, locked everybody in. So we're going to be sending a report off to the building commissioner or the relevant authority as to the unsafetyness, if that's even a word, it is now, of not having a proper fire exit for 150 patrons that were still inside the building. She's locked all the escape doors. My friends had to leave out the back door and walk all the way around the building. So by the time I finished my live, front of the giving the cheeky squires a roast and Sky a roast. My friends had kind of turned up, and we just trundled off, and it was quite amusing. But once again, within 2 hours of that all going down, I seen a spreadsheet list come through of all the AHL venues in Australia, over 350 of them. And this is where the rubber hits the road for the people in the freedom movement and the people that are awake. You look at Budweiser and what happened in America and Disney World and all this kind of stuff. The Americans are doing what I've been trying to get Australians to do for the last at least 18 months with defunding all the multinational corporations and facilities like these that are obviously all part of the club. And it was a staged event anyway. It was a developer, right-wing kind of, liberal kind of event. Pretty much like the Canberra event was a staged event. For the politicians, it was a stage for the politicians because you don't get Channel 2, 7, 9 and 10 all lined up to shoot a freedom rally. So it exposes them, and that's what we're going to do. We're basically forcing the hands of these people to show to the world which side they're on and who they are. So we will continue to give that legs.
All right, tell us about the polls today.
Polling it's crazy. We are getting tons of votes, absolutely tons of votes. I had one of Shelley Remy today said she got this Labor voter she was speaking to, never voted anyone else but Labor. He's an influencer within their community. He's got 300 followers. As she said, they're pretty much all, he's already voted for me, and he believes that all of the people that he speaks to have voted for me also. We've got people coming out the polls all day, tapping me on the back, voted for you, winking, nodding, and I just see, and when people walk in, I know they're voting for me. As they walk out right in front of the Liberal candidate, I said, thanks for your vote, have a great day. And so I'm just rubbing it in their face, so I'm getting under their skin constantly. And we're red pilling all these rusted on Labor and Liberal people. I had the second in charge in the Liberal campaign today speak to me for half an hour, asking how do I find out about all this stuff? How do I learn this stuff that you're talking about? So I'm swear to God, we are smacking them between the eyes, and I'm giving them the heads up that there's a list of 28 pedophiles that are being protected by a 99-year suppression order by both Labor and Liberal. And the Wood Royal Commission, go and research it. You guys are actually facilitating and continuing the cover-up of the pedophilia that's going on in our parliament and in our court system and throughout all top levels of society in this country. And it's really making them think. When I turn up on the polls now, they're not poo-pooing me anymore. I feel like I just have a presence, and I take control of the whole bloody place. And I move around, and I just red pill them all day. I'm loud. I'm telling them, independent for Dunkley. We've got to stop the fraud and corruption that is Australian politics, the sellout of our assets, the national security issue of not owning our ports, the sell-off of our electricity grids, our water, our farmland, not producing petroleum in this country anymore. I said it is a national security problem, and both parties are responsible for this over the last 60 years, and we cannot continue to support these criminals. And I was saying this in front of Dreyfus, in front of Mundine, in front of multiple Chris Bowen come down the other day, and I'm just in their face with this rhetoric all day.
Beautiful. Well, that's what you need. Let me just bring up a video file. So while you didn't make it onto Sky News, you did make a fairly impassioned attempt at getting onto Channel 7. Let's have a look at that. Oh.
Yeah, well, they're probably not all here anyway. So. Darren, what's important to you and your party as you stand? Okay, what's important to me is expose the fraud and corruption of the mainstream parties. They've been selling this country out for decades, and they're, I believe, facilitating child abuse with the education system that's indoctrinating our primary school age children with sexualisation and gender change and all this kind of stuff. Now, our kids should be left to flourish and grow without all of that kind of adult content in their education. Darren, what's your last name again?
Bergwerf.
Can you spell that for us?
Bergwerf.
And your party?
I'm not in a party. I'm an independent. I'm not a politician. Right. I'm a representative of the people. That's what I'm here to do. I'll never be a politician because I believe that both major parties
are criminally involved in the mass genocide of the people of this country with that bioweapon. And that might go pretty harsh for a lot of people, but it's a fact. The truth's coming out all over the world. Many people are dying from that. Any other vaccine that caused the amount of injuries that this one has would have been taken off the shelves years ago. And they're still facilitating it, and they're quietening doctors. They won't report on it. And I can bet you this won't go to air.
I will try. Good on you, Darren.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll try. I didn't try too hard. I'm pretty confident that never made it to air in Melbourne last night.
And look, I wasn't. If I wanted to try and get on air on any of these mainstream channels, obviously I wouldn't have been speaking like that. It wasn't about that. It was basically to get a message across to some mainstream media people. Apparently, the cameraman had a big grin on his face the whole time that I was speaking. He knew. The ABC cameraman that turned up today, I had a conversation with him. He knows. And these are freelancers, of course. They know exactly what I'm talking about. The people on the polls know I'm speaking the truth that they've never had the balls to fucking do. And it's resonating, and people are starting to listen. And that was more of a thing that we've got the Channel 7 mic in the picture, and it's something that was never designed to go on mainstream. It was always designed to go into the into our catalogue of videos about getting that message across, and that will get shared all over the place, and it will filter into the people that aren't fully awake. And unfortunately, it's going to be confronting to a lot of them that have kind of had to or felt pressured into having that. But extortion is exactly what it was. They extorted people to take a experimental kind of vaccine, and like I keep saying to these people, all the evidence was there. Just because you think we were conspiracy theorists, no, we weren't. We knew. We'd done the research. Yeah. We knew before it even got here. We tried to warn you all. You wouldn't listen to us, and now you're starting to see that we were right all along.
Yeah, it's hard to not make it an I told you so moment, but we don't want to scare people off with that. We need them to come in and learn more and be willing, instead of being resistant, be sponges, because there are a lot of people with a lot of information that can help you.
Well, they're not. They actually not getting scared off. I've shown a few people that clip. I don't know whether you've seen it. It only goes for a minute or less of a clot, a rubber white clot being dragged out of someone's artery, and he puts it on his glove and it stretches it and rubs it. And it's not a blood clot. It's obviously. And I've showed that to people, and yes, it's confronting. I said, God, we're trying to. There's things you can do. There's detoxing you can do if you just listen and come and find out and do some research. And they certainly are not being scared off, and they're open-minded to listen and look. And, of course, we're being helped a lot in the last week as well with the case in Adelaide. Obviously today in the Brisbane Supreme Court with that handing down of the fact that the vaccine mandates and forcing people to get these jabs was unlawful. So that's a massive ruling in the Brisbane Supreme Court today. We've also had an Australian Senate today, 31-30, an inquiry now to look into the excess deaths since the vaccine rollout. Apparently we're the first country in the world to do that. So the drip is turning into a stream. And I think, like you were saying before, I jumped on that stream will turn into a flood in March. And, like I said, it's never been about getting a seat at the table in any election that I've run in. It's always been about turning the table upside down or getting information out into the general public, because all the freedom movement, most of the freedom movement, in my opinion, they spend a lot of time talking to converted and not really doing the hard work in the trenches. And to me, getting out amongst the public and like Forest of the Fallen is an amazing thing. And this platform that we've had for the last 4 weeks, and I know a lot of people kind of ridicule me, and rightly so. I don't mind. I own that ridicule at the start because of my change in position. I own it. And but what I suggested at the time, that the benefits from this campaign are going to far outweigh the negatives. Is ringing true now, and it's starting to show. And like I say to the older generation, I said, look, we're going to flip this seat. Liberal are going to take this seat, and I can see it going from a 6.7% Labor seat to a 2% Liberal seat. And I'm happy for you. Our preferences are going to Liberal because they're the lesser of two evils, and we have no choice in a two-party preferred. They've got to go somewhere. And I don't care if you want to change it and put Nathan, the Liberal candidate, number 2. But what we need to do as a people is send a message to those Muppets in Canberra that the primary vote has gone to an independent, and show them how pissed we are and how disgusted we are with the main parties. And it's still going to go back to the Liberal, and it's still going to flip the seat. But you're going to send a strong message to Canberra if we can get in the mid-teens or high teens. Now, that may be a bit far-fetched, but with what I've seen over the last couple of days and the stories I've got coming in about 300 potential Labor voters flipping and actually voting independent, I mean, this is huge. And I'm about to do a live tonight and tomorrow night. I'm going to start doing more lives. And I'm going to be putting that message out there for anyone that hasn't voted yet, that now's the time to step up and smack these people and send them a message and explain about what's going on with the Supreme Court and the fact that we've been right all along. I am no theorist. It is a conspiracy, and I believe that the mainstream media have conspired with our government to cover up the deaths and injuries of this vaccine. And as we know, they will be held accountable at some point.
Yep, absolutely. Mate, I'll let you go because I know you've got a house full of guests downstairs. Cass is there doing her thing. The Ainsley guys, did David come out with her as well tonight? And
yeah, David and is it Katrina?
Yeah, Katrina. Yep.
Yeah, David and Katrina are both down there. So yeah, they'll no doubt be speaking for an hour or so, but I'll head back down there and yeah, I'll keep touching base with you and keep you posted either on the phone or via text during the day at how we're going. But at the moment, it's been really, really positive.
When's your media blackout start?
I don't know. Is there one?
Yeah, there will be. Thursday probably, or might even be Wednesday. So just be careful. Check into it. Somebody popped up in the chat. Why don't you give Tom Elliott a call on 3AW? It was I dare you to get on with Tom Elliott, but there is no dare there. Once again, as with television, you've got to run the gauntlet of producers, and Tom will have 2 producers as a minimum sitting in there. Nothing is ever off the cuff. They will have pre-arranged it and been swatting on Darren if he is to get on there and have an interview. The only way that you would have any hope, the only way you'd have any hope is ringing up as a cold call on open line and getting on that way.
Well, good luck to him, mate. I'll do an interview with anyone, and I'll chew them up and spit them out. Because the truth will win every day of the week, and they've got nothing.
I agree, mate. There's so much of it coming out on a daily basis now that I don't know how the mainstream media can even hold their head out in public at the moment. Misinformation,
I'll let the reporter know.
Disinformation.
Yeah, I'll let the reporter know from the ABC today about the case in South Australia, about the Supreme Court case in Brisbane today, how it's just been found that the COVID mandates and vaccine mandates were unlawful, and also about the Senate thing. And so she's just kind of standing there, kind of didn't know what to say for a little bit. And then she kind of said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yep." And then she walked off. So, look, it's unavoidable for these people. They're it's only a matter of time. They're going to get swamped with information, and we all know what's coming. Sorry, while I'm here, because, and I'll say it just briefly, the one main thing that I need to get across to people, I don't know how many people. I'm going to do my own rebuttal next week when I've got a bit more time and I've watched it again. But for anyone that doesn't know, I got roasted pretty much last week by Ricardo Bosi. He's basically saying that I'm a Freemason, Masonic filth, and that I'm going to swing by a rope. Now, I can guarantee every single Australian out there that is a fucking lie, out-and-out lie. The only oath that I've ever sworn in my life was a 16-year-old in a courtroom in a children's court to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And I'll put my oaths on the table any day of the week against anyone else in this movement. And it is a filthy lie, and I think it was disgusting what was said. I'll have more on that, but that one point I wanted to make it very clear to anyone in this country that that is absolute garbage.
Yep. All right, mate. I'll let you go back to work. Thank you for making that point and so many other well-founded points tonight. So
I'll keep
good luck.
speaking the truth, mate. I'll keep speaking the truth, and I've got no problem whatsoever. And anyone that knows me knows that's what I do.
Yep, absolutely. Well, go forth, truth speaker. Say hi to Cass and the rest of the Ainsley team downstairs for me, and give your lovely other half Anna a kiss for me. Talk to you soon.
No problem, mate. Thanks, Carl. Cheers.
See you, buddy. Darren Bergwerf down in Melbourne. And if you are in the Dunkley electorate, please think of Darren for Dunkley. If you haven't already voted in pre-polling, which is just the easiest way to steal an election ever, then turn up on Saturday and go and have a look. Darren will be around all the polls on Saturday. I know that. So he'll be looking forward to catching up with you. I start a couple of comments here. Crunch said somebody died at the Tay Tay concerts as well. What, just one person? I think they got away lightly if there's only one person who carked at those concerts. It's pretty big. Zab, what are you saying here? Oh, yeah, Obama's daughter, is it Malia, changed her name to something else, dropped the Obama completely. Doesn't want to be known about that. Not one little bit. Black Sheep, you are in the room. I hadn't seen you. Yeah, that was something awful that happened. Now, I would advise you folks, unless you particularly have a penchant for watching extremely horrible vision, do not go and source out the video of this young US serviceman self-immolating. Because you won't enjoy it. And it'll be a thing you'll find very hard to get out of your head, ever. I have seen a couple of self-immolation protest videos in my time. They are ones that tend to stick with you. So strong stomachs only and strong heads. If you're going to go and have a look at that sort of stuff, you've got to be able to, disassociate with it somewhere. That's probably the wrong term. J1 heard that a lot of New South Wales police like being punched around the ring still. I think Dusty covers that for us all. If Michael wins, he'll be the first black man as president. Barack was the first black bitch. You folks are having a bloody good time in the chat tonight, and I'm very pleased to be hearing it. How long have we been going? Shit, nearly an hour and 10 minutes. I should let you folks go. But that's some funny shit. What's this liability thing? They do that's unlawful, but they still kill the idiots. Oh no, they're all same playbook here in Australia. Oh, Jacob Rothschild died today. Did you notice that? Interestingly, yesterday in the mall, or the mall, do they call that, in London? There are always, guards, horses, flags, symbols, all that sort of shit riding up and down the mall. Well, just a really interesting video turned up just before I was going to air. I haven't had the time to get it off my phone and get it over into the computer yet. But there were 3 guards with some very interesting flags, but also the horse colours were interesting. I didn't realize that white horses are only used when there is a monarch in residence or monarch is in the parade. Well, there was one white horse in this parade, and there was a black flag that was sort of rolled up for the better part of it, and there was something else in there too. All of this before the public announcement of Jacob Rothschild's death. Now, we know that Rothschilds and the House of Windsor were inextricably linked. The City of London, the 1 square mile of wealth and power that the Rothschilds controlled. So could that have been some form of signal, shall we say, a comm of some kind? And did you see the president of Argentina when he met Donald Trump at the CPAC in the States over the weekend? He came rushing out off stage after speaking and ran smack into Trump. Oh, Mr. President, and ran up to him, practically leapt into his arms, gave him a hug. Trump's sitting back like this, like, oh, yes, lovely, you're doing a great job. He warmed to him, got a bit closer. Yeah, very interesting reaction from the Argentinian president to President Trump. Well, I think there's more to that story than we're likely to know for a little while, but I have no doubt. See, now, we talk about wealth of information. Black Sheep makes a statement. Rothschild is the crown, not King Charles. He's 100% right. All right? He's 100% right. But it doesn't look that way to everybody else, does it? That's why we keep saying you are watching a movie. So thank you, Paul, for correcting me. I should have pointed that bit out myself a little bit earlier. Thank you, Rosanna. Yes, the Argentina president does love Trump. In fact, I think he would have his children if that were at all possible. God love him. Shell, what have you written here? Stop listening to Rick. Yeah. I would agree. Darren is a doer, 100%. And I think that's part of the problem. There's been a lot of talk coming out of the other camp, but not a lot of action. Look at what My Place has achieved in 2 years. Over 350 My Places around Australia. I think the Gold Coast has over 2,000 members alone. Now, could that have something to do with the angst that other people in this movement seem to be experiencing? Because if you walk into a My Place anywhere, any one of the 350, you will have access to not just your local community, you'll have access to everybody else's as well, along with access to the Unity Hub, should you choose to join it. Now, it costs $60 a year, I think, but the Unity Hub will link every My Place in Australia with you. So if you need to talk to every My Place in Australia, you can, and you can find the right person at each My Place to talk to. The Unity Hub, and we're streaming live to it right now, is a brilliant initiative put together by Darren Bergwerf, his team from My Place, and a couple of pretty cluey blokes who know how to do shit on the interwebs. One of those cluey blokes is our bloke, Vince. Right? So I wasn't joking when I said if you have a computer problem and you need fixed, Vince is your bloke. But that's not, well, he can help you if your printer won't work, or if, the screen doesn't turn on, or you get the blue wheel of death. But he can also help you build a network. He can help you build a complete computer network for your business. He can maybe streamline your situation. He's a network engineer. And boy, when you hear some of the things he's worked on, well, you've got a man of pretty great experience. And if he can, he'll fix it from home for you. So online makes it pretty easy. I know he helps me out a great deal with my stuff. So Vince and others are responsible for the Unity Hub and a lot of the My Place infrastructure. Now, I met Vince through A1. So what they've lost by taking the path that they have, I think A1 will be regretting. Well, I would like to think they would regret it, but on present evidence, they regret nothing. I don't even think they even understand it with some of the things they're saying. But they're running their race up their hill. We're running our race up our hill. And the idea is not to go throwing things at each other on the way up, I would have thought. But it is what it is. Darren, I think, holds himself very well. I trust Darren. I believe in Darren. And I certainly do not believe he's a Freemason. We've had many conversations about Freemasonry. We've directly sorted each other out on the issue because he has his same concerns, as I suppose you would have at some stage. We have to ask the question. We've got to look into the people's eyes, and I expect people to ask me if I'm a Freemason and look into my eyes when I give you the answer. And hopefully you can read my eyes and the truth that comes out of it. If you can't, you're going to need to improve your people reading skills, because I ain't no Freemason, buddy. Not even close. Not even close. All right, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you tonight. I want you to, if you are in Dunkley, give Darren some serious consideration. I guess if you are watching this show and living in Dunkley, you're already going to vote for him if you haven't already. But what about the people you know who haven't voted yet that live in that area? Can you help Darren get a few more votes? My God, wouldn't it be wonderful if the independent just came from nowhere and got enough votes, maybe not to win the seat, but to change the seat? That's why you're seeing Albo Sleazy spend so much time in Frankston at the moment, because they know that is a real possibility. Yes, the seat might go to Liberal, but it is a real possibility that Albo will lose it. If Albo loses that seat, it becomes a problem for him in the House. So bear that in mind. Thank you, J1. And thank you, Brett. I think you've summed it all up for us all tonight. All right, folks, love you and leave you. I do trust that you will stay safe while you are doing whatever it is that you plan on doing tomorrow. And God knows it's going to be a nice day in some places, pouring rain in others. Wherever you are, rest assured there will be dickheads on the road. Just avoid them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!